Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into a topic suggested by one of you, the dinosaur Borealosaurus.
Right. We've gathered the scientific sources, the classifications, the
And our
descriptions.
mission really is to figure out what was this dinosaur, where and when did it live, and what's the interesting science behind it.
Exactly. It's like assembling a puzzle with only some of the pieces. Even with fragmentary finds like this one, there's often a lot to discuss, sometimes even debate.
Okay, let's start with the basics. The big picture. It's scientific classification. I see this long list here. Eukaryota, Animalia.
Hmm.
Where do we begin to make sense of it?
Yeah, it looks like a lot, but it's just biology's filing system, basically. It shows relationships. So eukaryotic complex cells. Animalia, it's an animal, obviously.
Okay.
Chordata means it had a precursor to a backbone. And then the big one, Dinosauria. It's a dinosaur.
Right, dinosaur. Everyone loves dinosaurs. But that's still a huge group. How do we narrow it down?
We do. It's a Saurischian dinosaur. Those are the lizard-hipped ones.
Yeah.
And sauropodomorph of that group includes the long-necked plant eaters.
Getting warmer, long necks, plants.
And sauropoda itself, these are the really huge four-legged herbivores you picture. Think Brontosaurus, Diplodocus, that kind of body plan.
Giants, definitely. And within sauropoda.
We get to Macronaria, sort of a subgroup of advanced sauropods. And finally, Borealosaurus lands in Titanosauria.
Titanosauria. So it's a titanosaur. That sounds important.
It is. Titanosaurs were incredibly successful. Huge animals, very diverse, and they were around right until the very end of the Cretaceous period. Some of the last giant dinosaurs walking the Earth.
Wow. Okay, so it has its vowel name, like all species. Borealosaurus weimani. What's the story there?
Right, the binomial name, Borealosaurus weimani. It was named back in 2004 by you and colleagues.
And the name itself, Borealosaurus. Does it mean something specific?
It does. It comes from Greek. Boreas means the north wind, and sauros, of course, means lizard.
North wind lizard. Northern lizard.
Exactly. Because it was found in northern China. Pretty straightforward, that part.
Makes sense. And the second part, weimani.
That species name, weimani, honors Carl Wimman. He was a Swedish paleontologist.
Okay. And the connection is?
Wimman was actually the very first person to name a dinosaur found in China. So naming this one after him is a nod to that history, connecting the discovery back to the beginnings of paleontology in the region.
Oh, that's a really nice touch, acknowledging the history of the science itself.
Yeah, it happens quite a bit.
So we know what it is, a titanosaur, and why it's named that. Let's pin down the when and where. When did this northern lizard live?
It lived during the late Cretaceous period, so towards the end of the whole dinosaur era.
The final chapter.
Right. And the fossils were found in the Xinjiang Formation. That's in Liaoning Province, northeastern China. So picture late Cretaceous northern China.
A very different place back then, I imagine. Now, about those fossils, you mentioned fragmentary finds earlier. We didn't find a whole skeleton, did we?
No, unfortunately not. Our understanding of Borealosaurus comes from, well, not much, really. Fragmentary bits.
Like what, specifically?
The original description was based mainly on one key piece. A caudal vertebra. A tailbone.
Just one tailbone.
Well, one particularly significant one. From the middle to the end section of the tail, a mid-distal caudal vertebra.
It's amazing what scientists can figure out from just one bone.
It really is. This particular vertebra had some distinct features. Based on its shape, the original researchers thought it might be closely related to another titanosaur from Mongolia called Opisthecoelacadia.
Okay, so initial thoughts pointed towards a relative in Mongolia. But science rarely stands still, right? Did that interpretation hold up?
Well, that's where it gets interesting. There was a later study, a review in 2017 by Avarinov and Suze. They looked at all the Cretaceous sauropods from Central Asia.
And they had a different take on Borealosaurus.
They did. They looked closely at the vertebra again, but focused on something else. They noted the absence of procaudally in the middle tail vertebrae.
Procaudally.
What?
What's that exactly?
Procaudally means the front surface of the vertebra's main body, the centrum, is concave, like a socket.
Okay, concave front.
Right. Avarinov and Suze pointed out that Borealosaurus's middle tail vertebrae don't seem to have that feature. Based on that absence, they suggested it wasn't part of the main, more derived group of titanosaurs called Lithostroscia.
Ah, so the lack of this concave front shape suggested it was maybe a more primitive type of titanosaur outside this Lithostroscia group.
Sort of, yeah. Non-Lithostroscian is the term they used. Lithostroscia is considered a more advanced branch on the titanosaur family tree, defined by certain features. So by lacking that procaudally, Borealosaurus looked like it might belong to an earlier branching, less derived group within Titanosauria.
So two different interpretations based on different features or the lack of features on the same type of bone. That highlights the challenge, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It shows how interpreting fragmentary fossils can lead to different hypotheses about relationships.
Let's go back to that original 2004 description for a second. You mentioned the team who named it U, G, Lamanna, and others. What did they emphasize about the vertebra?
They specifically highlighted that the caudal vertebrae were opisthoceles.
Okistochausis. Okay, another term.
Yeah, it basically means the opposite of procelis in terms of the centrum shape. Opisthoceles vertebrae are convex, sort of ball-shaped at the front, and concave, socket-shaped at the back.
So the first team saw a ball at the front and socket at the back, and the later team focused on the lack of a socket at the front in the middle tailbones. Subtle differences.
Very subtle, but potentially very significant for understanding how the tail moved and how Borealosaurus fits into the bigger Titanosaur picture. These joint shapes tell you a lot.
Fascinating. We also saw a quick note about something called Karen's Comments, an Asconi Paleontology Study Group newsletter from 2005. What's the significance of that?
Ah, right. Well, it's not a formal scientific paper, obviously, but the fact that Borealosaurus got mentioned in a group like that pretty soon after it was named, it just shows that the discovery made waves. People in the paleontology community, even enthusiasts and study groups, were taking notice and talking about it. It sparked some interest beyond the initial research paper.
So even a few bones can get people talking.
Definitely. Every fossil discovery adds a piece to the puzzle, and people get excited about new pieces.
Okay, let's try and wrap this up. We've dived pretty deep into Borealosaurus. What are the main things we should take away?
Well, first, Borealosaurus weimani was a titanosaurian sauropod. Lived in northern China, late Cretaceous, known only from fragments, mostly tail vertebrae.
Got it. Northern lizard honors Whiteman.
Right. And scientifically, the interesting bit is the ongoing discussion about where exactly it fits within Titanosauria.
The debate about its classification.
Yeah. Is it close to Opisthocoelicodia based on overall shape? Or is it a non-Lithostrodon, a more basal titanosaur, based on the lack of procoli in some vertebrae? The jury's still kind of out.
It really shows how science works, doesn't it? New analyses, different perspectives. The picture keeps evolving.
Exactly. It's not about having all the answers right away. It's about the process of asking questions and refining our understanding based on the available evidence, however limited it might be.
And maybe that leaves us with a final thought for you, our listeners. We've spent all this time talking about Borealosaurus based on just a few bones.
So think about this. What can studying these fragmentary glimpses into the past really teach us about the incredible diversity of life millions of years ago? But also, what are the limits? How much can we truly know when the record itself is so incomplete? Something to ponder